What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 55 of Nintendo Noise, Flipscreen Games' weekly Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined, as always, by my very good friends and co-hosts, Mr. Stephen Radford.
Hello, hello.
Mr. Chuy Plays.
Bye, goodbye.
And Miss Sierra Plus Ultra.
Hey.
Is that your official response now?
I don't know. I gotta find my thing now.
I know, this is a monumental episode. This is the first time we're all together since you've become a full-time host. 3 weeks ago. So yeah.
Is that the case? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Time goes by, huh? And that feels like forever ago already, right? And it's like,
Right.
Of course it's only been 3 weeks because we also launched the Steam Deck podcast, and I know we've only done like 2 of those, but still, geez Louise.
We've done 3 of those, Pete. Haven't we?
I don't know. Sure. I believe you.
Contract.
Yeah, right? Like, time is meaningless, and it's only become more meaningless ever since we all got forced inside. I don't know what time is anymore. Forget about that. But what I won't forget about is that we're here. It's Nintendo Noise time, baby, and we've got some good stuff to jaw about for you. We've got a meaty question from one of you listeners to kick things off. We've got some conversation around Sakurai's new YouTube channel, and of course, we got our hands on Splatoon 3 thanks to the Splatfest open beta, and we got some impressions for you. You know, so it's a jam-packed one. I'm excited. I'm glad we have the whole crew together for such a monumental episode. But before we get into all that, let me remind you that this episode of Nintendo Noise is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of August. They are, of course, Christian Oliveria, Christopher Valenz, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, a.k.a. Asobi, Mary Berry, Smokey Shake, Wakahula, and Zaid Ida. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. Y'all are the real, still the real, and we appreciate your support of this and all of our fine programming here at Flipscreen Games. If you want to go show your support just like they did, head over to the Patreon. We've got a bunch of cool perks and goodies for you. You can get early access to this show. You can get exclusive access to our Patreon show, One More Thing, and a bunch of other cool little things that you can get. But if you don't have any money to toss our way, that's, of course, no problem. Head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website where you'll find links to all the rest of the places that you can get involved or find our content, including our Twitch channel, including our second YouTube channel where we throw up our Twitch streams, including our Discord, including our email address where you can write in, just like Spring Hill Rick did for our start screen this week. Let's jump into it. So, over on the Discord, Spring Hill Rick wrote in and said, what is the most surprising Nintendo exclusive game you have ever played? Which game in the same vein is your guilty pleasure? And finally, is there a game from Nintendo you've always wanted to play but inexplicably never touched? I love this question. It runs the whole gamut, right? So we got to say, we'll say the Nintendo exclusive you were most surprised by, right? So I'm taking that as a game maybe you didn't think you'd vibe with and you ended up really enjoying. And then I think guilty pleasure speaks for itself, right? And what is the game you've always wanted to get to from Nintendo's catalog that you never touched? I think I'm going to guess that Steve and I have a very similar answer for the one we were most surprised by in Metroid Dread, right?
Yeah, in recent memory, I was probably going to be Metroid Dread. I don't think I ever thought I would really get into Metroid, but that game was something special. I played it within one weekend. I just couldn't stop playing it. I couldn't put it down. It was a phenomenal game. One of the best games I've ever played, I think. I had such a good time with that game.
It was both of our game of the year that year, and we were both like, we both had decided we weren't going to play it, which is crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't until we had Nintendo Mouse on the show, and Richard convinced us both. After he had hands on at Nintendo UK, we were just like, yeah, we need to play this game.
The only other one that came to mind for me was Fire Emblem Three Houses, which it's a well-worn story, so I won't go on it for too long. But I bought that game because I had been told I would like Fire Emblem. I bought it kind of fully expecting to play a couple hours of it and then burn out on it, and I was hooked within like 45 minutes, and it was my favorite game that year. And that's one of my favorite Switch games by a lot. So one of my favorite RPGs for that matter. So that was definitely another one that I certainly didn't expect to hit the way that it did, but it definitely struck a chord with me.
I love it.
What about you, Chewy? You got one?
Yeah, this one, literally this week I decided I'm dropping it because I just keep going in, I keep doing more stuff, it's getting me nowhere, and I'm like, I'm done with this game. I gotta move on with my life. But it's it's funny. It's Nintendo Switch Sports, honestly. I have somehow managed to put 50 hours into this game. The thing keeps making me play every single week because they put down some new gear and stuff, and I'm just like, fine, I'll get it. It's cute. I need to be able to dress with this stuff and use it all. And so I had a surprisingly good time with it. For some reason, games keep coming out, and I still keep making time for Switch Sports. But this week, I literally said, all right, there's too much. There's just too much to collect in this game. I'm done. It takes too long. It's literally like 3 hours a week, I think, minimum to get
Jeez.
all of the unlocks and things.
Too much
And the
time.
game, it's always like you play for an hour and they're like they do the Nintendo thing of like, oh, you've been playing for a while. Do you want to stop? And
Oh
I'm like,
God,
let
yeah.
me stop then. Let me
You know
stop this
the
game.
the only time that I ever agreed to that was in Ring Fit. Every single time it would
Oh
pop
yeah.
up, I would be like, you know what? Yeah, I think I'm done.
Yeah, you know what? I could use a break.
I love that. But yeah, no, I think that game has been surprising for me because, nobody's talked about it in the half year it's been out at all.
And it's
But
been
me, I'm just like,
terrorizing you.
I'm still just chugging along here trying to get all the things. And I'm just like, why am I doing this to myself at this point? I literally like wrote down my list of upcoming games that I'm like, all right, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this. And then looking at that list, I was like, Switch Sports, you gotta go. I can't play you anymore. So yeah, that game sucked me in more than I thought it would. I didn't expect to play it for however many months it's been, literally week after week of unlocking things. Um, I'm
Golf
glad to be
update out
walking
for it
away.
yet?
It's not even out yet. That'll probably get
Are
me
you gonna
back in
miss?
for
You're
like
gonna
a.
miss on that, or you're gonna come back for that?
I'll try it out. But honestly,
Don't
like even
don't Chewy. Once you get out, you can't let them pull you back in.
I know, I know. And I guess kind of similarly to Switch Sports, another one of the quiet sports games, Mario Golf, Super Strikers. Is that what it is? Super Rush? Yeah, Super Rush.
There you
I
go.
was like Mario Strikers, whatever, all the sports games with Mario. That one, I don't go into it quite as often, but it does like every once in a while. I'm just like, you know what? Online is so casual for it right now. My blood pressure is too high from all this splatooning. I just need something that's like wacky, casual. Like every single game you play online in Mario Strikers, it's like, cool, your score's improved. And I'm like, great, thank you. No more losing points in Splatoon.
Oh,
So
you
yeah.
mentioned Splatoon. That was probably one of the ones that I was really surprised by as well.
Mm,
Probably the most surprising and how much it hooked me in and I got invested in it. I don't play online shooters at all or online
me
games
neither.
really. And my friend told me to get it when I picked up my Switch because he was a massive fan of the first game on Wii U. And we just played it pretty much every night. We were just always on Discord, just like chatting away and playing Splatoon. It was really fun. And I just became obsessed with it, like even to the point where I was like getting into the meta game on it, which is just, it never happens. Never ever happens for me.
I get that. Yeah, I'm the same with that game. I still don't really care about other shooters. I'm just like, Splatoon? Yeah, I can do that one. Others just don't grab me as much.
What about you, Sierra? What was the most surprising Nintendo game for you?
It's technically not an exclusive anymore, but I was very surprised at how much I liked Pokemon Unite.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because like
That's a
I
great
don't
answer.
play MOBAs. I don't play MOBAs. And I didn't think I'd be good at it. I still never really got to a point where I was like sweaty at it. But I enjoyed it so much more than I thought I was going to. And I think it was thanks to the gameplay loop, that the classic MOBA style loop of you have like, your small minions that you fight, you score in the goals, and it's really satisfying.
The
It
matches are
feels
so
so
quick too,
good.
which I feel like really
Yeah.
helped, right? Where you'd be like, "All right, one more," and you could easily bang out, 4 or 5 games. If you wanted to play for an hour, right, you could get 4, 5, 6 games in.
Exactly. I remember when it came out, and kept going to bed so late because
Yeah.
it kept saying, one more, just one more, and it's just like quick 10 minutes.
I'm right about to rank up.
And
I
then-
gotta go again.
Exactly. And then if you lost a ranked match, you were like, I gotta get this back. I can't go to bed on this note. And it was real dark for a while. I was hooked. I never thought I'd get out, but I did. And I'm gonna go back in because that sky map looks really fun.
Yo, and they just announced like 4 new characters. I was like, all right, I think it's time.
Yeah.
I think it's time. Yeah, I almost put it on the list for today, but I was like, nobody cares about this game anymore. Like, I'm not gonna put it. But like I'm excited about it. They announced Mew, Dojo, and like 2 others. I can't remember. But there's also like a ton of new characters since I stopped playing. So I'm like, might be time to go back to season 3.
You gotta imagine around the time that the new games come out that they'll be adding some of the new Pokemon in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. There's never
It's
been
like
a new
It's
game.
a good way to tie in. Yeah, it's a good way to tie in and introduce new Pokemon into it.
Yeah.
Before we move on to like Spring Hill Rick's other question, I guess, is it 2 or 3?
It's technically 3.
Three questions. He stole Asobi's format.
He's
and
biting
ran
on
with it.
Asobi's patented 3 question format, which,
Yeah.
you know what? That's okay, right? Like, if you want to write in with 3 questions, if they're in a theme, I appreciate that. That's
It's a
pretty
good
good.
format. It's
Yeah,
a
it's
really
great.
good format.
But
Before we move on, another one that really surprised me was Mario Rabbids, because I think when we all saw like the leak before it was announced, it was just like, what is this shit? No one wants Mario and Rabbids together. This is going to be awful.
nobody likes Rabbids.
And it was super surprising. And I'm still always surprised by the fact that it's like you can get it for like $10. It's ridiculous. And if you haven't played that game, you should definitely check it out.
It's
Or
really
at least
fun.
before the second one comes.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's especially like if you're like not if you're not like familiar with like the XCOM style like tactical game. I feel like it introduces that in a really like new player friendly way, but it's not like easy. Like it's not like like I feel like a lot of people will say that about like Pokemon, where it's a perfect like baby's first RPG, right? And it's like this is like that in terms of onboarding, but like it scales where like the later stuff gets tough, which is awesome, right? Like it teaches you in a super super accommodating way, but then it like doesn't try to assume that you're not going to learn and get better, which I appreciate.
Right.
What do you if we interpret this question like a little bit differently as well? I feel like there's another way you can interpret it as surprising. Like I'm always still surprised that certain games that are Nintendo exclusive and never have branched out. Like GoldenEye, for example, the fact that still isn't playable on any other console and has never made it off of a Nintendo console is still surprising to me.
There's so many rights issues though, like because that like any it's the same thing that happened with like the Scott Pilgrim game, right? Where like you couldn't get it for like 10 years, and it's like, well, because it's a game based on a movie, based on a comic, so like who like it's like, okay, well, Oni Press owns the comic, and Universal owns the movie that it's based on, and Ubisoft made the game, and so like how do you get all these people to agree? And then there's the band Anamanaguchi that did the soundtrack that had its own rights because they own the rights to the music, and it's like it's like this whole bullshit thing. And it's like with GoldenEye, I'm sure it's the same thing, right? Because it's like you have the I forget the name of the author, but you have the
Ian Fleming, but he doesn't have any
his family
ownership over it.
Doesn't his family have say in how it's represented in other mediums though?
James Bond is represented entirely by Eon Productions and MGM. That is owned 50-50 by those two companies. MGM's now owned 100% by Amazon, so you'd have to negotiate with Amazon and Eon Productions to get the rights to James Bond.
And then it's also a game that was published by Nintendo but made by Rare, who's now owned by Xbox.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's
the same deal, right? Like it's just like, oh damn, yeah, this is kind of a bitch, huh?
Yeah.
It's also a game.
There's like other ones though, right? Because I
Sure.
was really surprised when Resident Evil was exclusive to GameCube back in the day. Like that was really surprising to me that
Sure.
they managed to steal that away from
Yeah.
PlayStation, because I'd always associated those games with PlayStation. Then all of a sudden you're like buying a GameCube to play Resident Evil 0.
Yeah.
So, on the question of the guilty pleasure one, I'm really struggling with this because I can't think
Yeah.
of a Nintendo game that I like that I'm really like a big fan of that is like held in a bad regard. You know, like, or that like
No, like terribly rated, like worst rated Nintendo games.
I'm sure,
Smash.
Mm.
but like, what are they? I don't know.
I mean,
It's
I
not
don't
like
know.
any of us really love Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival or whatever, is it?
I got
Oh,
one.
true.
Yeah, like, cause that's the thing, right? Like, it is like it's got to be a game that like is generally thought of as not being very good, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like,
Or like not thought of, I think too.
That's true.
Because I really like those like big brain academy games and stuff like that. Like all the weird little.
Oh, I always liked Dr. Kashima's brain training. That was always fun.
Yeah, like the brain age
Brain Age.
over here
Yeah.
in the States. The clubhouse game stuff, you know, like there's some weird little things that I think is recognized, you know, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't think there's too many that are like really looked down on.
yeah, this is one
Yeah.
I'm really struggling with to come up with like a good answer because, you know, I think most of the Nintendo games that are like not great I'm just like I'm not the biggest fan of, right? So it's pretty easy to like pick in. Most of the stuff they make is quality, right? And like especially in terms of like a guilty pleasure, like I don't know. I don't have one. I'm not ashamed of anything I like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The notion of a guilty pleasure.
I totally reject
Arms.
yeah. I totally
Yeah.
reject that idea.
So the answer is arms for everyone.
Get out of here, Chewy. No. Oh shit, that is my answer. Oh, damn it. I love that
No,
game.
I've never played it.
Oh, Arms is so good.
It's not in the same vein as a MOBA, but Monopoly on the Switch is really good.
Oh,
Monopoly.
it is really
Yeah.
good. No, I really like
It is
Monopoly.
so good. That's one of my favorite
All right.
memories.
Oh my
We're
god,
having a Monopoly night.
if we're talking
We got
about
to.
Yes.
if we're talking about that kind of game, I have Jeopardy on the Nintendo Switch, and Sarah and I used to play that a lot, and terrible, but like it was fun.
Yeah.
I've never even watched this episode of Jeopardy. It doesn't air in the UK. I have no idea how to play that game. I know that the answer is a question or something.
Yeah, you have to answer in the form of a question.
That's so annoying.
So it would be like you know, a weekly Nintendo podcast produced by Flip Screen Games, and you'd say, "What is Nintendo noise?" That's how you do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why they do it that way, but that is how they do it.
Yeah, me neither. Just the way
It's
it is.
tradish.
It's just their way.
Yeah.
So now this one I think is easier. What is a game from Nintendo you've always wanted to play but never got around to? I think that's a much easier question to answer, right?
I got a lot of these.
What's the number one?
Oh,
Take a
God.
second to
It's
think
so
about it.
tough, right?
All right, Chewy, you play every video game made by Nintendo. So what have you not played? What do you got? What do you got for me?
I will say there are quite a few. There's some that I've skipped here and there. The ones that instantly come to mind for me, though, are like the F-Zero games.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess they're available to me now with the Switch Online stuff, but still haven't touched them at this point. And I guess Star Fox I haven't played too much. Like I've dabbled a little bit, played a little bit of Star Fox 64. I hear they're all Star Fox 64 though.
Pretty much, yeah. If you played that one, you're
Yeah.
good. You got it.
So
you get
that's
it.
probably the only one
What's
that I need to
Star
play.
Fox 64? Do you mean the popular N64 game Lilac Wars?
Lilac Wars, of course.
Yes,
Who could
Lilac
forget?
Wars, of course.
Yeah, there's Star Fox Adventures is the GameCube one. That's honestly probably a good answer for me. And I'm kind of surprised I never played that game. You know, I played like a lot of the GameCube adventure type titles. But that's the one that like came right after 64 and everyone's like, "Oh boy, another Star Fox game." And the first mission you're flying around in the R-Wing and then the entire rest of it is a Legend of Zelda game. And it's just like, "What though? Why?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to. One that we spoke about a couple of weeks back, having a potential revival. I've always wanted to check it as Golden Sun.
Oh, sure.
I'd love to check
Oh,
that
yeah.
franchise out at some point. I'm skipped out on that one, but also basically every game on the 3DS. I never got a chance to play Luigi's Mansion 2.
I've never played that one either.
To go back and play that.
Or 3 for that
There's
matter.
a lot of stuff.
I never got to that one either.
3 is
Solid.
great. You need to pick 3
Yeah.
up. 3 is awesome.
You've told me that
You
every
gotta do the
I'd love to go
online
back.
modes.
You've told me that every Halloween since it came out, and I'm always like, "Yeah, I'll get around to it one of these days." I never played it.
So,
There's online. We can play together.
That'd be fun. I'm down. I'm down to race Luigi's or whatever.
And kind of more surprising, I think, for me is the only Warioland game I've played is Warioland 4, and I'd love to go back and play some of the older ones, Warioland 1, 2, and 3, to find out what they're like and if they live up to the expectation I would have of them coming from Warioland 4, which is one of my favorite games of all time.
That's wacky. I didn't know you'd never played that. Or that was the only one you'd played, I guess, considering it's one of your faves. Yeah, I think the only other one that comes to mind for me is like the other Fire Emblems, right? Like I've never played, like I've only played Three Houses, and it seems like it's a series that like historically should have been my jam, and like I guess I've literally played whatever the one is on GBA a little bit. Like I borrowed it from a friend as a kid type thing, but I never really put like serious time into it. All right, Sierra, what do you got?
I have so many. Earthbound, is that Nintendo?
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck, that's a great one. Yeah, I haven't played that either.
Yeah, that's such a good one.
Never played it.
Me neither.
and then-
Honestly, it does not live up. Like I was streaming that. I
Don't
played
listen to
like 4 or
Steve.
5 hours of it.
Don't listen
I'm
to
dead.
Steve.
Everything's in a menu. The action button is the right bumper. It's a really strange game.
Steve is
Very,
so
very
upset
weird.
that an old
Didn't know
game is
that.
old.
Not even that. Like it's just odd. It's a very odd game.
That's the point.
Like you call up your sister and she comes picks your stuff up from you, and that's like how you transfer things from your inventory. It's
Oh my
very
God.
weird.
What else? Also, the other Fire Emblem games. Well, all of them. I haven't played Three Houses yet. And the Xenoblade stuff. And I'm sure there's more I'm not thinking of, but those are the first ones that came to mind.
Xenoblade 3 is awesome.
It is very good.
Loving it.
Oh, yeah.
It is very good.
Have you ever played any of the like the offshoot Xeno stuff? Like the what was it?
Like the Xenosaga, Xenogears.
Yeah.
Those-
No, I've never touched those.
Those predate Xenoblade.
Yeah, but there's like the other
Yeah.
one, right? Is it Xenoblade Chronicles X or something?
I have that one, and I've played that one too. That one's very different, though. Definitely not part of the story they're going for with the numbered games.
Mhm.
I also wanted to check out Tokyo Mirage Sessions at some point. That always
Yeah.
intrigued me. I wanted to check that one out. And one I would love to get a hold of a copy of, but it's quite tricky because you also need the hardware, is Mario Party E. Do you I guess you guys know about that?
I know about that.
Like
yeah.
e-reader thing.
Yeah, so they
Oh.
had this this e-reader system, Sierra, for the Game Boy Advance. You plugged it in, and you could like read like physical cards. They made a Mario Party game that is a card game that you use all of these cards and you scan them and you play the mini games on the Game Boy Advance. And like there's an actual physical board that you move around. I would
Wow.
love to get a copy of that and play that at some point.
Yeah.
It's like a dream to own a copy of that and a working e-reader.
I have an e-reader. You just need to get the game, and then we gotta shoot. We all gotta convene here and shoot it, and play it in person.
Down.
And that's
This fall? Next month? When is it?
Well, we need to find a copy of the
Yeah.
thing.
I mean,
Oh,
The
yeah, I
thing
guess
is,
that's true.
like it doesn't. You have they're region locked, so you have to have an e-reader that works in your region's system, and then
okay.
also have the cards from that region.
So
it's a real pain in the ass.
So we need an American set of
all
cards,
the components,
or a European set and a European. That's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Region locking was so annoying. I'm so glad we stopped doing that.
Okay, good. It's only $300.
Yeah,
That's not
Only.
that bad. Like, here's the thing: what we got to do is we gotta do a fundraiser, and that'll be one of the tiers.
Ray from the community has a copy of this, and I need to just go visit him so I can play it because he's invited me to come and play that game. I just have never got around to it.
I love that it's like Mario Party 4 themed. The box art is like just Mario Party 4, but instead it's in E. And they could have just called it Mario Part dash the letter E.
That would have been way cooler name, yeah.
I don't know why they don't do more puns like that. Like the fact that they didn't stylize.
And they love puns.
The fact that they didn't stylize Splatoon as Splatoon, like that will bother me until I'm dead. I swear to God.
And Splatoon is already a pun. Like,
Yes!
people forget that.
I know. It's like, come on, guys. You could have shoved a whole another pun in there. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine.
Later.
Spring Hill Rick, thank you for writing in. I thought this was a really nice, thought-provoking question for the start screen. Thank you so much. Remember, if you want to write in with your own question for the start screen, or even a main topic, or if you want to react to the news, or if you want to just say hi, you can drop us a line at questions@flipscreen.games, or come join the Discord where every week we have a thread and we ask for questions. Come be a part of it. Thank you. All right, so let's jump into a little piece of news before we get into the main event and talk about Splatoon. Just this past week and change, we'll say, the mastermind behind both Kirby and Super Smash Bros., Mr. Masahiro Sakurai, just started a YouTube channel, which is, of course, appropriately titled I'm going to do it again. Masahiro Sakurai on Creating Games, which is his, essentially, if you watch the intro to the channel video, he talks about how the whole desire behind this channel was to make something that could be a free, really democratized in terms of being able to be super accessible to anybody tool for folks to learn about game design, and to kind of keep things at a sort of top level theory explanation, so that it's something that whether you're, a really experienced game designer with years under your belt and a ton of games shipped already, or if you're somebody who's trying to learn how to code and make your first game in your bedroom, that you can get advice from, I think fair to say, one of the most accomplished game designers of our time. Which is awesome. I was able to watch most of the new videos, and I know Sierra and Chuy both got to check it out as well. And I do want to hear what y'all thought about the channel and the format. But the thing I am most impressed by, I think, is just the fact that he's not putting ads on any of it. He's putting entirely his own money to create this, and it's something that he looks at purely as, he said, as an investment in the game design community and just a desire to share his knowledge and give back. And I just have a ton of respect for, obviously, Sakurai, I have a ton of respect for him as a creator, right, and just as an artist who I admire. But I think it's one thing to make great art, and it's another thing to be somebody who's willing to take the ladder and kick it down and try to help out people who share his passion. And it's just a really, really cool thing, and I think it's a great resource. And I know that there are definitely people who listen to the show that are either game designers themselves already or aspiring game designers, and I think this is just an incredible resource for folks in that position, and just for somebody like us on our side of the fence, right? As somebody who's passionate and excited about learning about games, what better way than to learn again from one of the great minds? So really, really amazing for him to kind of share some of these design documents and get into his his ethos, and kind of break down things that you've definitely seen in his games before, but you might not have thought about in a purely mechanical way, or how do you actually achieve that, right? Or what is the emotional response that he gets behind, something like freezing the screen during a hit, right? There's a whole episode about that, It's super interesting, and it varies from really niche focused things like that to explaining broad concepts like frame rate and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really awesome stuff. So Sierra, what did you think about it? I know you said you got to check it out. How many have you gotten to watch?
I've seen a few. I saw the one about, like his history, the one about like the reason why like stops are impactful in like action sequences, and the frame rate one. The frame rate one interested me because as we all know, Switch can only do up to 30 30 frame rate. Yeah, so like his like I guess like him explaining like the pros and cons between like 60 FPS and 30 was very interesting, very informative.
Loved him like
Um
just throwing strays at the Switch too, of just like, I mean, 60 is ideal, but 30's fine. I
Yeah,
was like, okay.
exactly. Oh, wonderful. I love stuff like this. I love learning. I never get sick of learning. Like if I could go back to college for free or like take classes, like and it wasn't a burden on my time or resources, I would do it because and especially like learning about like video games. So I look forward to more content. Very generous of him to not take any ad revenue from this. And I remember watching in his channel trailer saying like, "I will lose money on this. No, I don't care." I'm like, "Bless you."
He's like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm making this very niche, which means it has very little chance of making money, so whatever.
Yeah.
And he talked about how like
Like he'd make so much money. It's not like yes,
He
they're
would make a
niche,
lot.
but like he's up to over 350,000 subscribers already.
in like 3
Wow.
days,
and it's
in
just
like
over a
week.
week old. It's just like he would make money if he advertised, like put ads on.
The channel will be a month old tomorrow.
Yeah.
It was
And honestly, like the niche thing that's all YouTube cares about. Everything is just like they prioritize stuff that's like really hyper focused on one topic.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
he'd be
um,
very successful. He already is.
yeah. But it's cool that he's not interested in that, and it's like he's just trying to
Mhm.
do something that's productive, and like that's gonna be useful, which is cool. And I know he had talked about how like he's gotten a lot of invitations to like speak at colleges about design, and like he's had offers to write a book and everything, and he was like, well, like how many people can go to a college lecture, right? And like if I write a book and you can't afford it, then you can't read the book, and like it's cool that was his attitude about it, and it's like, how do I do this in a way that makes it the most accessible to the most amount of people possible? And he's posting them in both English and Japanese, which is cool as well.
Yeah. And I do I also like the little bit of shade he's thrown out to, people covering games who don't know how to make games or what goes into them. Because he's just like, I just want you to understand this is a lot harder to figure out than you think it is. So yeah, I don't know. There's so many types of criticism where I'm just like, this sounds like somebody who's never made a thing before and just knows
Yes.
there's like natural limitations to what is possible,
Yeah, for sure. So how many did you get to check out, Chewy?
I watched the first 4 that he posted. So obviously the announcement one, just covering the whole, I guess, ethos behind the channel and everything. The history things, the stop for big moments one, which was fun, and I kept seeing like on my feed just a bunch of developers take that into effect in their combat, where they're like, oh yeah, what if I just put like these slow motion, zoomed in stop sequences whenever you land a hit, and people are like, you know what? That's kind of cool. Like, leave that for some things. So people are getting like it's just like little advice that he's putting out there that's like, oh yeah, that's like a really cool way to think about it. And it's good to like think about like, does this work for your game too? Like, is this the right choice to go, or is there like something slightly different that needs to happen with whatever to make the game just feel more fun or satisfying for a person? So yeah, there's just like so much to dig into in the channel that's like, I really like that it's hyper focused on one little thing. I really like that it's like a quick video about all of these topics too. Like, I don't know. It's just delightful, I think, because we got used to hearing him through the what's the word? The Smash directs, right? And
Yeah.
all of the little details that he'd put into stuff. And now I'm just like, oh yeah, I feel like the whole reason I started like an Animal Crossing podcast was because I just couldn't stop talking about Animal Crossing when nobody else cared. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna make a podcast about it and then find the people who do care and talk to them. And I feel like he's at that point. He's like, I just want to keep talking about this stuff. I'm sure he's around a lot of people who care, but I don't know. I think he's he knows his place in the industry, and he knows that his knowledge will be well used and well loved by people like us, you know?
Absolutely. It's really cool the way that he like the stop for big moments one is like a great example too of like there's like bits where he's showing footage from Smash and being like, here's what it looks like with the hit, here's what it would look like if that was all gone, and it's like all these little effects that you now take for granted in Smash Brothers, and him showing like, this is why I include this, and this is why the hits feel so weighty, and this is like why we had the smoke screen and like that kind of thing, and just very, very interesting to get into the mind of somebody who's, you know, been behind some of your favorite pieces of art. So definitely go check it out.
And that was also like, this is why the clones just don't feel as good. Like they don't have this stuff going on. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what's missing, you know?
Yeah, just not that same level of like vision, I guess, attention to detail. I think that's like what I'm taking away from these is like, damn, my man really is thinking about like every frame, you know, and like how do you get the most emotional impact out of something that you're going to do 100 times, you know? Crazy. Right. All right, so Sierra, we're going to just slide back now and let these two dorks talk about Splatoon. I played it a little bit. You know, I got a little bit to say.
I hope you played it because I really want to know what you think about it and whether you tried any of the new weapons that you were excited about.
Okay, well, you know what, Steve? Then guess what? Let's do it. Let's jump into our talking point for the week. Splatoon 3 had its early access Splatfest, rock, paper, scissors. Guess what? I was right. Team Rock has won. We are the best. We are the champions. Thank you so much, everybody on Team Rock. Great job, everybody. Great job. We did it. Good old Rock. Can't go wrong with Rock. So happy about that for sure. But I enjoyed it. I played for a couple hours on Saturday. I was disappointed because I thought it was both Saturday and Sunday, and I jumped in on Sunday to be like, oh, let's put some more time. And I was like, oh no, it's over. That's a bummer. But I got some time in. I played with my friend Andy, so I got to experience some of the like partying up, and I think that's really the big change in my mind. I think I've seen a lot of people, you know, and I think a lot of people were even saying this before we got hands-on with the game, where it's like, in a lot of ways, this seems like Splatoon 2, but more and like better realized. And, you know, I think that's a fair assessment. But I think for me, as, you know, as somebody who really wanted to like Splatoon, but never quite connected with it and didn't have people to play with, and just all these like little things that kind of were barriers for me, I think, to spend more time with the game. I feel like Splatoon 3 has answered every one of those problems meaningfully, and if that's the worst thing you can say about it, is that it's a better version of what came before, well, it's like, well, that's the point of sequels. So, you know, it's like, could they have done more? Like, sure, right? I think that there is definitely a lot of stuff that feels samey. But if you liked Splatoon, or you've been interested in Splatoon and you've never gotten into it, I think this is going to be the one, right, for a lot of folks, because the party system is just, it's night and day, right? Like, and again, these are things that we take for granted everywhere else, so I'm not necessarily trying to pat Nintendo on the back for this, but like, it was very easy to jump into the game. I had to get through the tutorial real quick. It was nice and short. And
wasn't it hell though, using the motion controls for that small second?
It sure
they went straight off, I'll tell you that, Pete.
You're back out on them?
I hate them so
I know.
much.
I tried playing with them, Chewy. I tried. I hate it.
Me
fucking
too.
hate
so much
it.
better in this one, though.
They're so bad, though,
no,
dude.
they're not. They're exactly the same as Splatoon 2's, and they're so bad.
My hands are too jerky.
There are some differences. There are some differences. Like when you're moving left to right, in Splatoon 2, the camera would turn slightly with that movement. In this one, it just keeps a forward view.
That's good.
So there are some differences.
Down. and that's the big thing
No,
for
you
me.
can't. Yeah.
But
Well, get over it.
get over it and get good.
I'm over
Yeah.
it. I'm back on the sticks, and it's working fine for me.
Yeah, me too. We'll see. I might try
It's fine.
again, but I got a finite amount of time on this Saturday, right? So I wasn't about to waste all that time. So
Yeah, you'll do it with the story mode
exactly,
when it comes out.
exactly. So I mean, it was super easy to jump in, and like when you go into like the standard menu system to jump into multiplayer, right? Like, they have all the regular game modes, and then they also just have an option for with friends, and it immediately starts a room. You can, like, literally, there's a button you can press, and it just mass invites all of your friends that are online playing Splatoon, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I think that's a really smart way to go about it. But it's also super easy to just, like, look and see if you've got a friend with a lobby and jump in their lobby or go and do the ghost thing that they showed us in the direct. So there's, like, a couple of ways you can do it, and they all were, like, fairly intuitive. And it seems like if you're in an existing party, it's pretty easy to just get another friend to just jump in and get in the waiting room and everything. So, like, all of those are things, again, that, like, you know, not necessarily going to, like, give them their flowers for, because they're things that should have been in Splatoon 2, but they did solve all of my problems, right? So, like, I have to acknowledge that, like, this is what I wanted, and I like, as that person who was bitching about all those things, I feel satiated. You know, like, it didn't take me an annoying amount of time and, like, not knowing if I'm going to be on the same team as my friend and all that nonsense, right? Like, they removed all of that bullshit guesswork, and it just works the way I want it to now. And I liked the new weapons. I didn't love the bow and arrow. I thought it was good for getting kills, but it wasn't good at spreading ink, and that's not the point of the game. So
Agreed. I mean, it's not the point of the game really in this mode that we were playing, but I think it could be really beneficial in something like tower control
or salmon run even.
Yeah, where you are really wanting to get those kills, like knock the person off the top of the tower, because it does. The one we got was the tri-string what's it called? The tri-stringer, I think it's called. And you would pull it back, and it would fire that thing that sort of exploded on the ground as well if you charged it up. That would be really good to get on top of a tower. They'd have to, like, jump off and move away from it and then get back on. So I feel like that could be really beneficial. But I didn't, unfortunately, get a chance to try any of the Friends stuff, because I realized all of the friends that play Splatoon are American, and they still do this annoying thing where they region lock the Splatfest.
Yeah, I thought that was so weird.
I picked Europe, and I couldn't play with any of my friends, so I was really pissed off about that.
When I saw that, I was like,
damn, not go great.
It's like Steve should have just picked North America.
Yeah, but if I'd have picked North America, it was a different time slot. So I wouldn't have been awake to play any of the game anyway, because I was at my parents this weekend. It was my mum's birthday on Saturday, so I was fitting it in around family time, and not a great experience in terms of, like, stability. I had so many disconnects. I had so many people, like, so many console communication errors. I had so many times when it would just be like, too many people have left, so we're, like, ending the game early. Don't worry, nothing bad's happened.
That only happened to me once.
It was so frustrating.
Somebody dodged.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I got that message.
And I think it's the host who leaves. So whoever, like, Nintendo's deemed the host, they're gone, while the game can't continue anymore because we're still using P2P, even though we're on the new, is it NPLN rather than NEX or
whatever it is.
It's like so frustrating when that happens, and I don't know why it still does. I'm hoping that some of this is, like, teething problems, because obviously it is, like, their test fire just to iron out these kinks. I'm hoping that by the 9th there will be fewer communication issues, but as it stands, you know, it felt like a very similar experience to what I got with Splatoon 2, because I wasn't able to play with my friends because they're in a different continent, and I couldn't play that many matches because I kept getting communication.
Man, that's such a shame.
And being booted out of the game.
That's such a bummer. Like, I had such a stable experience, it sounds like, compared to what you were doing, and, like, And I was like, I was being an asshole. Like, I was playing on Wi-Fi. I was on my Wi-Fi on Discord with my friend. I had like Netflix on in the background. Like, I was making no effort to make my situation ideal, and it was pretty good. You know, like that sucks, man.
Yeah.
Did you have any of those issues, Chewy?
I disconnected once, but that's like my internet is just like been really picky lately. I had one friend disconnect from another, but yeah, not too bad for me. I think there was maybe one game where I noticed that another one of their team members had disconnected. So yeah, not too bad on my end. Very very similar, I will say, to Splatoon 2 though. So not an improvement either.
No, yeah, there's no improvement there. I don't think. Like I really hoped that when we learned it was the new system that they'd built, that it was going to be a marked improvement over what we had before. But it seems like it's the same.
It's so funny.
The same. They've just built upon it.
Because I was chatting with my friend about it while we were playing, and he hadn't heard about the whole like GameCube 2003 netcode. So I was like explaining that to him, and I was like, oh, this feels so much better. Like, this must be because this is on the new system. This must be why. Like, we're having such a better time than when we used to play Splatoon 2 together, you know? And like, it's so interesting that I seem to have had such a night and day different. I wonder if I was just lucky and like nobody just happened to disconnect in the like, 30 whatever matches I did that day, but because I played for a couple hours, I'm surprised.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's weird. Oh, I hope the final version is more representative of my experience then.
I think it probably will be. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And to be honest, it doesn't dissuade me from playing the game. I still had a phenomenal time with it. I still really enjoyed my experiences on the whole. I know Chris Brandrick over at Switch Weekly put a bit of a piece together in this week's newsletter that was worth checking out, and he was a bit down on the whole thing because like the onboarding was a bit difficult. They were playing with someone who'd never played Splatoon before, and it was just like, okay, well, where do I go to like pick a team, and now how do I get into like the lobby area? Like, what do I do? Because it can be quite confusing for new players.
And I'm not a new player, and I still had that problem with the where do I go to pick a team. It's like, why is this in a different area than just where I'm going to start the battle? Like, that's so obtuse. And I also was sitting there like walking around the square like, where did they tell me to go? Like, I don't know. Like, I've never been here. I don't know. Like, they're like, go to those, and it's like, again, right? It's the whole like bullshit where everything is a proper noun. So it's like, go to the shrimpy blimpy blaps, and it's like, I don't know what the fuck that is, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Like, go to the Splatfest zone tree. It's like, okay, yeah, I got it. Great. Yep. Splat, split, squid. It's all the same shit. Like, what? Just give me highlight it. Fucking put a border around it.
It doesn't need to be a section within the world. It could easily be on that like floating menu within the lobby area.
Like, or just like, again, and when you just click into the game and it's like, oh, you need to pick a team. Be like, okay, well, what are my options? Pick one. Boom. That was it. That's all I needed.
Next time you all play, press L. That'll just open up the matchmaking menu.
Great.
But you
that
have
would be good to know,
team, right? In order to do that.
Oh, I think you do have to pick like a Splatfest team. Actually,
it was picking the team that Chris was specifically highlighting that like his friends struggled with. It was just like, where the hell do I go in order to pick a team? And like,
you load up and it's like literally behind you. Like you just have to turn around.
They put you towards the thing that looks like where you're supposed to go, and they're like, oh, go back into the thing and do the thing. It's like, why?
That makes me happy I wrote a guide about that for Twinfinite. Because I was like, I have a feeling people are going to get lost just figuring out how to play here. So I was like, here's how to pick a team.
That's great. It's just silly, right? Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, it is such a prime example of like, why is it like this, right? Like, that's always been the problem with Splatoon, where it's like core gameplay, amazing, matchmaking, and just like the layout of the menus, and it's like, why is everything?
That is the culture of Splatfest. You gotta go pick a team, and then you can play.
Great, but
it's the third game in. It's the weirdest thing with Nintendo.
You
because
can't
it's like
say that though. You can't say it's the third game.
Here's what I'm gonna say. it's the weirdest thing with them, specifically because they're like 3 games in. They still use the first like 10 minutes of a direct to be like, here are the basics behind Splatoon. And then like you're actually thrown into the game and they give you no explanation.
And they're like, okay, go
whatsoever.
play.
Yeah,
and
I
you're
know.
like, how? I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know what to do.
mental.
Also, like,
And like,
the whole, like, you play the first game, and then they're like, oh, by the way, you need a nickname now. It's like, why didn't you just have me do this when I started playing? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, why?
that was annoying because like my usual name's got numbers in as well, and I was just like, I just want like numbers in my name, and I don't think it would let me use that, so I just had to go with like Steve, like it's only letters that you're allowed to put in the name or something. I think it was very weird, and I was like, okay, fine, because like your actual username comes out underneath, and like or maybe that was my name rather than the nickname. And I got so confused with like the clothing and stuff because I was assuming this was just going to be like actual Splatoon where I'm like getting currency and I go spend it on like items and things. You go to the shop, you can't buy anything because you got no money and you're not getting any money and you're not actually leveling up. They've given you like a selection of items and clothing and weapons and like things you could use, like all the gear you could use. I didn't realize it was there until like the 4th or 5th match, and I realized other people were wearing different clothes, and I could not for the life of me figure out how they'd bought them because I wasn't leveling up at all, and I just went and looked in my inventory.
Yeah. Yeah. That you were playing how Japan plays in tournaments actually in this, where they ignore all of the subs and they just use the main ability on clothing. That's their competitive
weird.
scene. Yeah, it is
interesting.
weird.
Oh.
I think there's an actual menu in the games to like turn off the subs.
Interesting. Okay, that's cool.
I think
that they've pulled that in.
I think it's just wacky to me, like, when you think about, like, the reputation that Nintendo has for being, like, our games are family-friendly, and, like, you know, like, we have all these games that are, like we're gonna, like, really hold your hand and teach you how to play, and then it's, like, this game that actually feels like it warrants some level of, like, hey, can you, like, teach me what I'm supposed to do? Like, you know, like, especially if you're like a new player, it's like, so how does the gear work? Like, what are the stats I should be looking at? Like, how do I cleanse? Like, there's so many systems in Splatoon, and they're just like, you'll fucking figure it out. And it's just like,
and I mentioned this when we talked about it before, where I was like, there's literally no explanation for any ranked mode outside of like the directs. Like, they'll give you a quick, here's the objective, right? But outside of that, they like give you nothing. It's just like, play the game. I remember when Clam Blitz was new, like they just threw every single person was just like, what am I doing? Why am I lost? How do I win?
Yeah, why am I
mode?
throwing this at this like giant football? Like, what the fuck is this? That's very weird mode, but it was one of my favorites. Like, you get this giant football thing that you're gonna throw. Bizarre. But like, going back to the weapons, I loved the Splatana.
I did too.
You tried that one out?
Yeah,
Like,
I liked it a lot.
fuck me. Like,
It's really
so
good.
good. Yeah, I'm so excited to see the other variants of that and seeing how they like change things up because it was perfect. Like,
It worked just the way I wanted it to.
Nobody's business. Like, amazing.
It made me a lot less.
Favorite.
It made me a lot less like panicky because like that's always the thing I feel like ends up fucking me is like when I get really close quarters with someone and I'm like like I've run out of ink or you know like
spam yeah
and it's just like okay just whack them like they're done deleted like it's great. I liked it a lot. Yeah, I'm excited to try out some of the other variants and see if I can find one that works even better for me because it's like a little slow, but like aside from that, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, not as slow as that. Like, Stringer, fuck me, that was ridiculously slow. I hated it so much.
Yeah, the Stringer, to me, it's like when Splatoon 2 first introduced like the Splatbrella, the Tentabrella, like the big giant tent one.
Yeah.
That one was like terrible when people first got into it, but now it's like one of those weapons that people are like, oh yeah, that's the competitive weapon that you have on your team for this. But yeah, that the Stringer feels like there's potential, but it's definitely a weaker choice right now, I think. And I'm not quite sure on the Splatana yet. Like, it is kind of slow, so it was weird fighting it and feeling like I feel like a brush would have killed me in this situation, but I got out of it. So yeah.
Did you master the new techniques like the charging up to go up the wall and like the the flip back. Not once did I manage to like trigger the iframes, so like I wouldn't get damaged on the like turning on a dime thing.
Oh yeah.
Have not figured
Yeah, I
that
couldn't
out yet.
figure it out.
It's basically like you just like switch directions and hit the jump button. That's like the
Yeah,
squid
yeah, I
roll
figured out
one.
how to do that, but I've not once been able to time it where someone's like thrown a bomb at me and I've like done that maneuver and it's made that like
And gotten
shimmery
out of it.
sound
Yeah.
and like I've
hmm
gotten out of it. Not once been able to pull that off.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of forgot to use it while in action, and then
Me
like the
too.
next day I was like, oh man, I totally forgot that I could have been doing that the whole time. But I liked it overall when I was playing with it in like the testing zone. I was like, how do I do this? And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I might give this a shot. And then apparently I didn't.
So before we get out of here, I do want to close things out with a series of questions here on the subject of some new stuff. Zaid Ida, one of our Patreon producers, wrote in and said, "Did you try out TriColor mode? I was Team Paper, so I played on the 2-person team, and that might be my new favorite mode."
I was Team Paper too.
And then Olaf said, TriColor, also in the Discord, said, TriColor mode did feel a bit unbalanced for my doing. For example, Cal, once, I don't know what they're trying to say there. For example, once a team has the beacon, it is insanely difficult to take back the turf if you're not in a voice chat enabled team, but it's still super fun though, like insanely fun. It just needs a tiny bit of fine tuning for the defending team IMO.
Okay. I've got things to say about this TriColor mode because
I missed it. I didn't play it. I didn't see you could do it. I was like looking for it.
Oh yeah, so there was 3 modes on the menu. So you could do like private or like open, and then there was TriColor as like the 3 game modes that you could pick.
I did not go out of my way to pick TriColor, to be honest with you. So I was Team Scissors. We were in the lead at the first half, so we ended up in the defending team position for the rest of it. And honestly, it was just us getting slaughtered left and right whenever, literally left and right slaughtered whenever this mode came up. I won the first one, and I think it was because, people just didn't know what they were doing when it first popped up, But then after they figured out the mechanic,
I had no idea what I was doing. Like you have to go, so you have to go and get these. I can't remember what they call them, but you go pick these like things up, and you have to hold it in the air for a little while, and then once you've kind of gained control of it, it's like firing ink out. It's like floating in the air like on a pole, and it's firing ink out. And I don't think, or at least I couldn't figure out how to kill it once they'd had it. I don't think you can. So like once you've got it, there's no chance. You've lost the game once the other teams get those.
So, okay. So, playing as a defending team. So, the first one I won because nobody knew what they were doing. After that, though, once people figured it out, it was just like, this is relentless. You cannot be... there's one way to... It's unbalanced no matter which way you play. So, if you are on the defending team with 4 people and on voice chat, you could go to one side, do a 4 versus 2 on that side, then quickly go to the other side, do 4 versus 2, and just like keep defeating them back and forth. So like that, in that sense, it's very unbalanced. And then on top of that, if you are on the defending team and you're just playing with random people, there's no way you're going to have that type of coordination at any point because both the teams are just coming at you the whole time. There is like a warning that the I think it was like the siren or something has popped up. The signal, I forget what they call it.
The signal. It's like the signal. Yeah. A
so
signal
once
is
that
now
signal,
available or something.
Yeah, that signal would pop up, and you have to defend the middle because if the other team gets it, they get the never-ending sprinklers of doom. If both teams get a signal, they'll be 2 sprinklers of doom. And if any team gets a signal the second time, that pops up literally in the middle of the stage, and you're just like getting rained on the entire time. There's no way to defeat it. There's no way to stop. So it's just like both of them are so unbalanced. Like if you play those ways, if you're on voice chat, probably going to be unbalanced for the opposing teams. But if you're not...
I felt like it was unbalanced for the opposing teams when I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, this feels really unfair because there's like 4 people in the middle and there's like also another 2 over the other side that I've got to like try and kill, and I was just like, this is just a pain in the ass. Like, what the fuck am I meant to do? Like, I keep going to try and get this thing, and as soon as I get it, I've got 6 people trying to kill me as I go get it. But that's not how it goes when you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
because you kind of get your other teammate, especially if you're playing together really well. And I had when I was playing this, I was like teamed up with someone who clearly knew what they were doing. They were really fucking good. So they would like go in and distract them and basically get the 4-person team, the defending team, to follow them out of the middle stage area where they were, like where the signal thing was. And I'd go in, I'd just hold the fucking thing up, and then I'd get like a sprinkler up in the air, and it was great. And we did that twice. So we had like 2 of these sprinkler things going off, and they stood no chance once that happened. It was great. I had a good time with
Yeah.
it. And I said to Olaf in the Discord, I didn't feel like it was unbalanced, but I had never had the opportunity to be a defending team because I was on team paper and we did shit the entire way through. So I didn't ever get an opportunity to do the defense. I'm interested to see what it's like, and I would imagine they'll do some checks and balances on it.
Well, I will say that I don't mind it being as unbalanced as it is, but I think the change that does need to be made for it is like as the teams start taking the lead, it switches who's in that middle position. Like I want it
But
to
it
be kind
can't
of a
really
gauge.
because you've only got 2 players unless you have like 2 substitutes that you can like
No,
that are
no, no, no,
waiting on
no.
the
I'm saying
bench.
like in the entire Splatfest. Like
Yeah, yeah,
team
it should, yeah.
scissors was in the middle because, they were leading at the beginning of it. And so they're like, "All right, you get the first round as defending team or whatever." But I want to see like as the teams like
Like real
pass each
time.
other up, like it'll swap who's in that defending position. Like
They
I
could
think
do
that's the
that
change that needs to happen.
they could do that every 2 hours on the map rotation.
Yeah.
So like this map rotation, scissors in defense, you can come back in 2 hours time when the maps have swapped out, and then we've done some more calculations, and now paper's overtaken the lead because they've done so well. I think that could work really well.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think it'd be I want them to do something more interesting with calculating the winner in that situation, but I do think like people should experience like all of them because I would have loved to play like that 2-person team to try to get the signal. I was like, that seems pretty fun. It
it
seems
was
like a cool challenge
really
when
fun,
you're
yeah.
against the other 4 people, but
And it's super frustrating when you're there and you've been holding it for like 2 seconds and you've really only got like 3 more to go because you got to hold it for 5 seconds, and then
uh-huh.
you get shot in the face and you're done because
Yeah.
you can't defend yourself when you're holding it. The weapon's like turned off, so you can't. There's no defense you can do. You've got to rely on your teammate in order to help you, and obviously you've only got one other teammate, so they've really got to be putting the legwork in.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I would like them to make that change, but I honestly don't mind it being unbalanced because it's just Splatfest to me. I'm like it's supposed to be chaotic. It's supposed to just be fun for everybody to hop in and
Yeah.
play a game here and there. But like by the end of the night, when everybody knew what they were doing in the Splatfest, I was playing with my nephew like the last hour of the Splatfest, and we just kept getting TriColor battles, and I was just telling him, my dude, we're not gonna win this. Like we are gonna get demolished left and right whenever it's this mode. Like we may hold them off for like a minute, but the last 2 minutes are just gonna be terrible. So
I
I was
like that there's
relieved
the
when I'd
difference
get
though.
yeah. I was relieved whenever we got like just a regular Splatfest turf floor. I was like, okay,
They
we
like
stand a
sprinkle
chance
in
again.
like the 10x battles and things in between
Yeah.
though. Like it's quite cool that there are now like 3 possibilities that you're gonna get. Like you're gonna get a normal battle, a 10x battle, or you're gonna get the tricolor. I'd love to see them
There's
continue building
also
upon that and
100x
adding
and
more.
333x.
Oh, I haven't
But
seen either. I didn't see either of those pop up. That's awesome.
yeah, so it can get even more intense the longer you
Yeah.
play. But yeah, changes I think can be made, but for the most part I thought it was like, cool, this is fun. And sweet new idea for a mode that I was like, it's not my favorite. Turf mode was like, oh yeah, I'd rather play like the ranked stuff. But in this case I was
Yeah.
like, no, this was fun. I had a good time.
All right, I guess we'll leave it at that. Thank you all for joining us here on another episode of Nintendo Noise. Remember, if you want to write into the show, if you want to show your support, if you want to join the community, if you want to get involved in any way that you can, head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website. And you'll find links to our Discord, our Patreon, our Twitch channel, our second YouTube channel where you can watch archives of our Twitch streams, all the other places you could get the content, however you choose to get involved. We appreciate you tuning in for another episode of Nintendo Noise. So, for the crew, we're all in different places I need to look. Hold on. I've been Pete. She's been Sierra. He's been Steve. He's been Chuy. And we've been Nintendo Noise. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.